everyone, this is HBSKSky here, and I am back with another vlog, and as you can tell in the title, it is going to be about doing what you love for a living. This is something that I have a job that I love, but I've also had jobs that I didn't really like all that much, although I made the most out of them while I was there. So we're just going to talk about that. I'm going to kind of share my experiences with it, and maybe it's something that if you have a job you don't like, you can learn from it a little bit and hopefully apply it to your life. Now, I did receive a lot of messages, personal messages, PMs, I guess they're called, on YouTube of people asking me, you know, kind of my experience doing what I love for a living, etc. So I don't have a specific question from a specific person, but please, down below, not only discuss maybe your experiences with doing what you love for a living or where you work now and if you hate it, what you plan to do. I want to hear that down below, but also leave questions down below too, so you can even post twice if you want to with the discussion about your opinion, and then also please ask me questions. I know there's some people who have copy-pasted their questions from all the videos. Please keep doing that. I do want to get to as many questions as I can. I can't answer every question because it's only one per video. So, enough rambling, so let's ramble about something else. Doing what you love for a living. So a lot of you know that I used to work at a fast food restaurant called Burgerville for 3 years, I think, around that kind of benchmark, and I've already talked about that a lot in the past, but when I was working at Burgerville, I realized after those 3 years, it was mostly in high school, like I've mentioned before, but I realized that, you know, I don't want to be doing this for my entire life. I see people around me who are 30, 40, 45, even older than that, working at a fast food place, making about $1 more than I was, and that's not what I wanted for myself. It's not that, you know, that's they're scum. Ugh. No, it's not that. Those people, they're great people, but me personally, I did not want to do that for the rest of my life. I would not be happy or anything like that. So, kind of a motto I came up with, which I don't know if this motto actually makes sense, but it's kind of how I think about it, and the motto, so that I don't mess it up, is be serious about your job, but don't take your job serious. Now that's something that I don't know if it actually makes sense or if it means what I'm trying to say with it, but what I mean by that is be serious about your job. That means that when you're at work, so say you're working at a fast food place, when you're at your job, you are, you know, trying to be as helpful as possible, trying to be as happy and personable as possible, interacting with customers, interacting with your bosses and your friends. And my chair, I sprayed WD-40 in it, but it's still squeaking, so if it squeaks all day, I do apologize. So that is the taking your job, or be serious about your job. What I mean by don't take your job serious is that you gotta be careful. If you're at a job that you don't love, don't think that that is the end game. So when I was working at fast food, for a while I was like, oh, this is all I'm gonna do. I was in high school, like what else am I gonna be concerned about other than school? But eventually I started to realize, like, the people who were still working there tended to be the people who took that job way too serious. And what I mean by that is say I was making a cheeseburger, just, oh, making a cheeseburger, whoops! I dropped it and it fell into the trash can. The people who had been there for an extremely long time and took the job very serious were like, oh my god, you have to write that down on waste, you have to clean it up immediately, you know, this is against health hazards, you're wasting food, I'm keeping an eye on you to make sure you're not stealing. Like, they kind of took it way too serious. And that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be clean and sanitary and all that at work. Of course you should. But really, at the end of the day, should you really be worrying about a hamburger? No. You should be worrying about furthering your life and making yourself more happy. So again, the slogan that I came up with, or motto, is be serious about your job, but don't take your job serious. I don't know, again, if it makes sense, but that is one thing that once I realized that those people were on a whole nother level. They were up here in Burger Town, while I'm just down here working for high school money, basically, so I could pay for my car. Once I kind of realized that, I started to realize, like, well, what kind of stuff do I take serious? Gaming, for example, computers, electronics, things like that, and that is when you want to start not only being serious, but also taking it serious, and that's exactly how I got to where I'm at now. I realized that I don't want to invest in Burgerville for the rest of my life. I want to invest in something I want to do. So that's when I started focusing on electronics and computers, and that's when I started going to college for computer science and, you know, just basically everything computer related that I could take, computer repair, all of that. And that really did help me out in the long run. So a lot of people out there right now, I bet at least half of you have a job that you do not absolutely love, and or you may not have a job at all and you really want one. So there's always different stages of life. You know, you don't have a job and you want one, you don't have a job and you don't want one, you have a job and you like it, you have a job and you don't like it. So there's a lot of different tiers that everyone can be on. And one thing that is super, super, super important, no matter what field you work in, is don't judge the other people around you. And what I mean by that is don't compare yourself to them and be like, oh, I'm higher than he is, or I'm below this person and oh, it really sucks. Because the thing is think about acting. Acting, I think, is the perfect example for this kind of model where say you're an actor and you've been in Hollywood for 5 years and you've only gotten a couple of auditions and that's it. And then you look at someone who's been in Hollywood for maybe a year. Maybe he's the son of a famous actor. So they're already in movies, they're in TV shows, they're rolling in the money, they're making bank, and oh, they're living the perfect life. Not usually. You got to be really careful comparing yourself to others. I think that this is something that some people disagree with me on, but I am very strict in not comparing myself to the success of others or to the unsuccess of others. I just focus on me. I compare myself to me, and that's it. Where I'm at right now, I'm very happy. Back when I was working at Burgerville, I saw people who were working their way through the ranks, who were managers, who were bosses, who moved on to corporate where the real money's at, and it was so tempting just to be like, oh, that's what I want. I want to make that $50,000 a year, $60,000 doing that. But instead of focusing on myself, I was focusing on what other people were doing. And that is one of the biggest downfalls at least in entertainment, but it's very similar to other jobs as well, where you see someone who gets promoted who was just hired or something like that. And honestly, that is something that I think you will rack your brain over. It will just make you feel worse and worse and worse. And in acting especially, a lot of people living in Hollywood can attest to this. You see the success of other people and it can really bum you out. But the people who are going to be most successful are the ones who are focusing on this guy. No, not me, focusing on yourself and trying to improve yourself, trying to do better. And this kind of segues into another major life lesson that I learned. Not really a lesson, but kind of major life philosophy, I guess. Or so, I don't even know the words, man. I'm dumb when it comes to words. But the most important thing about doing what you love for a living is leaning in the right direction. That is absolutely 100% from my experience how you become successful, is you lean in the right direction. Now, what does that mean? Let's say you're not, from a wealthy family. Let's say you're not from being able to get a decent job. Let's say right now you have no job. How do you go from that to being where you want to be? Leaning in the right direction. That's something that I want to emphasize over and over and over. It's the same thing for Hollywood. It's the same thing for YouTube. It's the same thing for any job that you want to get promoted in. A lot of people say fast food is a dead-end job. That's not true. If you lean in the right direction, if you want to have a job that's consistent and you can make money, get a fast food job, which sounds funny, but if you lean in the right direction, that's how you work your way through the ranks. That's how you become manager. That's how you work at corporate, which I personally didn't want to do that. But is fast food really a dead-end job? Not necessarily if you lean in the right direction. Same thing goes for acting and YouTube. A lot of people on YouTube, what happens is they see the success of Ray William Johnson and they're like, I want to do what Ray does. And the two biggest mistakes they make is they're not consistent by leaning in the right direction, and they compare themselves to, well, Ray William Johnson is getting, say, 10,000 subscribers in a 24-hour period. Well, I only got 2 in 2 days, so that means that he's growing 10,000 a day, I'm going 2 a day, just chugging along, and I'm never going to get to where he's at. The problem is that a lot of times you never will get to where they're at because, for example, on YouTube, you never really lose subscribers. You only lose active subscribers. So most people, for the most part, don't unsubscribe. Some do. But overall, that number is going to grow on subscribers, but they aren't going to necessarily be always growing in views, just for an example right there. So what leaning in the right direction is just leaning in the right direction. If you're at your job, you are doing everything you can, you're interacting with people, you're trying to build relationships, and the important thing for me as to what happened is I was in school and I had a job. Like one of my jobs, for example, was working at the U of O science library. So anyone who goes to the U of O, if you've been to the science library, I used to sit behind that desk and check out books. So I used to work there, and in my spare time, I would do the things that I love, and that's something that I think a lot of people need to make sure they do. So I was leaning in the right direction by making StarCraft videos every day, by watching StarCraft videos every day, etc. And that goes for any activity that you love, even if it's sex. You can make a living doing that if you really want to. I think it's kind of gross, but whatever it is you love doing, whether it's rock climbing, whether it's esports, whether it's freaking Dungeons and Dragons or knitting tiny little doll sweaters, you can at least do that in your spare time, lean in the right direction, and I would say you can get paid for about 90% of the activities out there. And that's really important because people don't realize that. They'll be like, well, I play the violin, and I'm like, okay, I've been playing it for a long time, but there's no way I could ever be in a giant orchestra. There's no way that I could do this for a living, and I'm gonna slap that right off your face. That is the absolute wrong attitude. Not only do you want to aim big, but you also want to be reasonable about it. And what I mean by that is say you play the violin, and between someone who's never played and someone who is like mainstream orchestra, man, they're killing it, they're making a ton of money. Let's say you're kind of like a little past mid-ground. So you have experience, you know how to play, your friends think you're really good, all of that. How do you take that from there, where you're not making any money, you're just doing it for fun, to making money doing that? Well, you find a way to market yourself and to make yourself valuable. News alert, the most money that goes swirling around in the world, at least in America, is in advertising. And what does that mean? That means advertising yourself right here to get yourself seen. And how do you do that? Well, if you're a violinist, you can make YouTube videos. You can try and join a local band or join some local orchestra. You can just keep practicing and being dedicated and trying to get your name out there. It's so important. It kind of drives me crazy that more people don't do this, to be quite frank. So say you're in paintballing, for example. You can market yourself out there. You can make a website, you can make a blog, you can make a Facebook fan page, you can start volunteering at a paintball course, and you can make videos. My world is all about making YouTube videos, so that's kind of what I know the most about. It's not the only way to market yourself, but say you are into violin playing, for example. Find a creative way to market the violin. So maybe you're playing in a dark room with bright neon black lights, you know, shining it. It looks really cool, and you edit it to look really awesome. You master the music and you make a video. Or maybe, I mean, just go to YouTube and type in violin and see what comes up. See what's been done, see what works, see what doesn't work, and find something in the middle that is something that's interesting, something that people will really enjoy watching, something that has not been done before, or your own take on something that has been done before. For example, nerd alert, Justin Bieber, the song Baby. You know how many parodies there were when we made that song? Hundreds. They were all over YouTube. It had been done. It has been driven into the ground. But we looked at the song and we're like, you know what? This song is actually kind of catchy. I think Banelings is extremely catchy, which means that the core song, the original Baby, is also catchy. Whether you guys want to admit it or not, it is catchy. And so we're like, you know what, we're going to do it our own way. We're going to put the nerd alert spin on it, and we're going to see what happens. And we had a lot of success with it. Same thing goes with SCV Love Song, and even our other song, Void Rays. They had all been done before, where SCV Love Song was kind of a boy band thing, and then we decided, you know what, we're going to spin it our own way, and who cares? If people don't get the boy band joke, who cares? We'll move on to our next song and our next song and just keep chugging right along, not getting discouraged by everyone kind of dragging us into the dirt or anything like that. You just got to keep on keeping on. Now, speaking of Justin Bieber, this is something that is so very important, and it's going to go over the heads of 90% of people who I tell this to. They completely don't agree with me on this. Honestly, my life views tend to be a lot different than other people's, and even kind of what's mainstream, but it's what makes me happy. So one thing that I try very hard to do, and it can be tempting not to do this, is not be a hater. Now, what does that mean? That means if Justin Bieber releases a new song talking about something I absolutely don't care about, as most of his songs are, it's so tempting for me to be like, it's so tempting for me to be like, oh, that Justin Bieber kid, he's so lucky, he just makes tons of money, all his music sucks, I can't believe that these teeny boppers are going to be watching this, oh my god, he has 500 billion views. That's called being a hater, and being a hater means that I'm sitting at home in my chair giving Justin Bieber money. For those of you who don't know how it works, the more hate you show towards someone, the more money you are handing them, not necessarily from your own pocket, but from the pockets of Google, from the pockets of Pepsi, from the pockets of Hollywood. You're just like, here, have all this money. Now, what does that mean? Well, when you are a hater, not only are you focusing on someone else, other than focusing on yourself, you're also drawing the focus to that person and drawing the focus away from yourself. So if you go to Justin Bieber and you're like, oh, this is so horrible, oh my god, you're posting another comment there. Any people who follow you on YouTube are going to know that you posted that comment, so then they're going to check it out, and if they leave a hate comment, then their friends know and they check it out, and everyone just keeps piling in, and they're like, here, please, take my money. And so the two main things about being a hater is you're making them more popular, and you are also making yourself less popular. Now, you can have strong opinions, like Total Biscuit, for example. I don't consider him a hater because he thinks out everything he talks about. When he makes a video about Mass Effect, about anything, he thinks about it. He is very smart. He's a very smart guy. So he's not a hater. A hater is the person who's sitting at home, is not contributing anything, is looking at those around them. So Justin Bieber, people who hate Ray William Johnson, people who hate country music, all of that, stop being a hater. Like, you're going to just really drive yourself into the ground. And what that means is you're going to be content, hating on everyone. A perfect example of this, and I don't know if I've been public about this before, is when I was just graduating high school. That's when YouTube was starting to come out for the first time. That's when I was watching videos when I was in college for gaming. I remember a very distinct moment where I was watching a Wow Hobbs video. For those of you who don't know, Wow Hobbs, now that I'm older and more mature, he's freaking awesome. I love the guy. He's such a cool guy. He makes World of Warcraft videos, which again is something so easy to hate on. Everyone in the StarCraft community loves to jump on the bandwagon and be like, I hate WoW, it's for casuals, it's for noobs, there's only stupid prepubescent girls on there. Ugh. That's called being a hater, bro. And it's not doing you any good. So anyways, I was watching Wow Hobbs videos, and this was like one of the very first gaming channels that I watched, and I'll be quite frank, I was like, how is he so popular? I don't get it. And I realized the next day, I was being a hater. I was thinking, oh, I could do this for sure, like no problem, this takes no work. He's so dumb. Like, I was being a total hater, given I was kind of a snobby high school kid to begin with, but once I realized that I was being a hater, this person over here was being a hater. Of course there's fans, and fans are great. You should definitely be a fan of something because it's something you can aspire to be. I realized that the people who are hating are the people who are not doing anything. For the most part, say I post a video and it has, 1,000 thumbs up and 100 people who are like, sucks, I hate it, you're worthless, so dumb, I hate you, Husky. I would love to compare my life, my level of happiness, to the person who's being the hater. And I would say more times than not, my life is much happier than people who kind of default to being a hater. So if you want to be successful, don't be a hater. Look at Justin Bieber. Look at Wow Hobbs. I love you, Wow Hobbs. Look at Ray William Johnson. Look at an actor that you absolutely loathe. And what is it that they're doing? Because they're doing something right. And whether or not you like that or not, they are doing something right. For the most part, they're very happy, they're very successful, and they're the ones who get it. The haters are the ones who are so far off in their own world that they don't realize that they're actually building up the things that they hate. So anytime you want to hate on Justin Bieber, just remember Justin Bieber is swimming in like $1 billion. So don't be a hater. Super, super important. I'm trying to see what else I have on here. I already listed any hobby can be a job. I fully believe that. Does that mean you're going to make a living making paper airplanes? I don't know. You could actually make a YouTube channel about paper airplanes, which is actually kind of cool. If you're someone who's great at making paper airplanes and you make like the world's farthest flying airplane or like a paper helicopter, then that is really cool. That's how you get it out there. And I am a firm believer that you can make whatever your hobby is, you can make money at it. Can you make a living at it? I don't know. You should definitely try though. It might take 5 months, it might take 5 hours, it might take 50 years, but at least you're trying to do what you love for a living. So another thing that I kind of live by is any hobby can be a job. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean everything can be a job. Sleeping, for example, might be kind of a hard job, but there's people who probably sleep for a living. So definitely remember that you don't have to conform to having an office job, to just doing that. If that's not what you want to do, it's good to do it, but also focus on your hobby, on what you enjoy, on what makes you happy. Lean in the right direction. Don't be a hater, and be consistent. Those are the main things. Just a couple other things that I wrote down. Invest all your free time into whatever hobby it is you love. Invest it into what makes you happy. If you're a family person, invest into that. Focus on that. Shay Carl, for example, is a huge family guy. I've met him. He is so genuine and sincere, and he actually gets to be a dad for a living. That is awesome. Let's see. Yeah, be serious about your job. Don't take your job serious. Lean in the right direction and make yourself valuable. So make yourself the guy who is entertaining. Make yourself the guy where everyone who wants to make a paper airplane is going to. Everyone who wants to know how to extreme rock climb, they're going to you. Make yourself interesting, and a lot of this is in regards to YouTube, but just be careful, because a lot of people will watch, for example, StarCraft commentaries, and they'll say, that's what I want to do for a living. But you have to really think, is that what I want to do for a living? Or am I just seeing someone else's happiness and I want to mimic that? You have to focus on what it is you want to do for a living, not what you see other people doing, not what you see, your family doing. You have to do what you like and focus on you. I think a lot of people are too busy focusing on other people. So that's my vlog. Hope you guys enjoyed. Please leave a comment down below on what you would like me to discuss. You have a chance of being the question that I answer, and I'll say your name and post the comment down below and all of that. Thank you so much, guys, for supporting the vlogs. I don't know how long this one is. Probably way too long because I ramble a lot. But this video was how to do what you love for a living. So hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time. Oh man. Are we back? We're back. And we're gone. That kind of benchmark, and I've already talked about that a lot in the past, but when I was working at Burrville, I realized after those 3 years, it was mostly in high school, like I've mentioned before, but I realized that, I don't want to be doing this for my entire life. I see people around me who are 30, 40, 45, even older than that, working at a fast food place, making about $1 more than I was, and that's not what I wanted for myself. It's not that, that's they're scum. Twice if you want to with the discussion about your opinion, and then also please ask me questions. I know there's some people who have copy-pasted their questions from all the videos. Please keep doing that. I do want to get to as many questions as I can. I can't answer every question because it's only one per video. So, enough rambling, so let's ramble about something else. Doing what you love for a living. So a lot of you know that I used to work at a fast food restaurant called Burgerville for 3 years, I think, around that. No, it's not that. Those people, they're great people. But me personally, I did not want to do that for the rest of my life. I would not be happy or anything like that. So kind of a motto I came up with, which I don't know if this motto actually makes sense, but it's kind of how I think about it. And the motto, so that I don't mess it up, is be serious about your job, but don't take your job serious. Now that's something that I don't know if it actually makes sense or if it means what I meant to your life. Now I did receive a lot of messages, personal messages, PMs, I guess they're called, on YouTube of people asking me, kind of my experience doing what I love for a living, etc. So I don't have a specific question from a specific person, but please, down below, not only discuss maybe your experiences with doing what you love for a living or where you work now, and if you hate it, what you plan to do. I want to hear that down below, but also leave questions down below too, so you can even post. Hello everyone, this is HBSKSky here, and I am back with another vlog, and as you can tell in the title, it is going to be about doing what you love for a living. This is something that I have a job that I love, but I've also had jobs that I didn't really like all that much, although I made the most out of them while I was there. So we're just going to talk about that. I'm going to kind of share my experiences with it, and maybe it's something that if you have a job you don't like, you can learn from it a little bit and hopefully apply